Good evening, Twitter. A bit of a departure, this one. Sorry I haven't been around for a little while. Difficult to always get access to laptop and so on when there's only one in the house, and your wife is a working teacher who is trying to do teaching from home. Bit of a departure. I will be telling this story, and I'll talk about the book in just a moment. But it's not just a reading, it is also a creative writing, storytelling exercise, which can be an oral exercise too. I don't know how many of you know the beautiful series of books by the brilliant Aaron Becker. As you can see, this one won the Caldecott Silver Medal of Honor, described as a masterwork by the New York Times. But they are books without words, beautiful, beautiful images, but they leave room for you to make up your own words. I suppose it's a kind of storytelling karaoke, really. Use this as you will, obviously. I haven't planned this before, so I genuinely will be thinking my words out loud, live, as it were. But I thought what you could do is, by all means, use it as a standard storytelling for younger children. But I thought teachers and parents who are educating from home could also set this as a challenge. Mute my reading, which has other benefits as well, of course, because you don't have to listen to me, and get your children to tell their own story. You can either get them to write it, of course. I think it's quite fun doing it page by page and then pausing and just doing it orally. Or if they really want a challenge, they can do what I'm about to try to do and try to tell it live, as it were. My son told me this story a little while ago, just like this, turned over the pages, and he read it to me as a bedtime story. So it's perfectly possible. I don't think I'll do it remotely as well as he did. So there you are. It's a bedtime story. It's a beautiful, beautiful book by Aaron Becker, as I hope you'll agree. But also perhaps an opportunity for you to get your kids to be thinking about the different ways stories can be told. And for older children, of course, it's a very useful starting point into the difference between plot in terms of what happens and narrative in terms of how we get from point A to point B. And a lovely bit of extension reading would be to read the stunning Castle of Cross Destinies after this, by Italo Calvino. I won't say any more except that the entire novel is about the ways in which stories can be told in different ways. And if that makes it sound dry, that's my fault, not his. It's extraordinary. It has tarot cards in the middle of it, and it's kind of magical, and it's like some medieval romance, and it's utterly stunning. But we're not there tonight. We are looking at Journey by Aaron Becker. On a grey morning in the city, Lila sat on the grey steps of her grey house. The only two things with any colour in the world were the red of the traffic lights, the red of her scooter, and, although she didn't see it yet, the purple of a crayon held in a boy's hand who seemed to be looking for something. No one was playing with Lila. She went indoors to see if she could find a companion. First she asked her mother. "Can't you see I'm on the phone and I'm cooking?" said her mother. She asked her father if he would come and play with her kite. "Not now, darling," he said. "Someone's wrong on the internet." She asked her sister, but her sister didn't even acknowledge her. She was talking to someone on her phone. So Lila retired to her room. Her room had a gas balloon model hanging from the ceiling. It had a map of the whole world by her bed, and on her bed were sailing ships. But Lila had never felt less as if she could travel anywhere at all. She felt grey and dark and rather down. She wished she could sleep as easily as her cat. He was curled up on some papers on the floor. But just then, as cats will do, the cat woke up, stalked out of the room in response to some hidden adventure, and Lena saw, underneath him, a red crayon. She picked it up and was about to draw on the paper, but she was feeling rebellious. No one, she said, was listening to her, so why should she listen to her? So she decided that she would draw a door. Imagine her surprise when, having drawn a door on the wall, it became a real door with dimensions, thickness, and the smell of wood. Not wishing to waste a moment, she pushed the door open and found herself in a beautiful world of colour, in a forest. Vast immemorial trees, like pillars of some ancient temple, illuminating the forest around her, were lamps, blue and yellow lanterns, and a river. She immediately longed to cross it. In the distance, she could see a small bridge of some kind. When she headed towards it and stood on the edge, she decided that she would draw a boat, the better to explore the river. The river was moving quickly, and soon brought her to a vast city full of golden domes, blue roofs, soldiers, waterways, fishermen, hanging baskets, and people of all kinds doing all sorts of things. She saw, for example, a half-cut fishing boat, and on the edge of it, a man fishing with a wooden stick. She saw pleasure gondolas being punted along the fast-flowing rivers. And as she entered the city, the soldiers, who were dressed in gold, waved and cheered in a friendly manner. At least someone's pleased to see me, she thought, thinking wistfully of her parents and her sister. But she was too excited with this new place to be bitter for long. It was full of waterfalls. It was full of beauty. Where was she going to go next? She came to the edge. Someone waved to stop, but it was too late. She was about to tip over the waterfall, and although in the distance she saw an extraordinary purple bird, she had time no more to notice it than she had to draw herself very quickly and very rapidly, remembering her own room, a hot air balloon. The soldiers cheered to see that she was free, and she waved cheerily back at them. As she turned, she could see again the purple bird. Always easy to do this. She could see again the purple bird, and in the distance an extraordinary flying machine, like one of the paddle steamers on the Mississippi. As she got closer, she could see a smaller flying machine, and out of it, leaning precariously, was a man being held by the legs by a friend of his, perhaps another soldier, desperately trying to catch the extraordinary purple bird. As Lena approached with her balloon, she could see they had captured the bird, and were holding it in a golden cage in great triumph on their vast ship. Parking the balloon for the now, Lena ran, not quite knowing what she was doing, towards an open gate in a vast tower. She mounted the stairway to the very highest tower, surmounted with a golden roof on top of which was a golden dragon, and 2 soldiers standing guard. The purple bird was in its golden cage, looking very alone. Without quite knowing what she was doing or why, she burst in, snatched the cage, and in the darkness of the night ran to the end of the platform, opened the cage, and released the bird. All that mattered to her was that the bird was free, as it should always have been. but she didn't see how close the soldiers were coming. They snatched her, but what mattered more was that she had dropped her red crayon. She could no longer draw herself any form of escape. The bird was free, but Layla was hanging from her cage underneath the machine. The wind billowed like waves around her, but she could not escape. The night was long and dark, but as dawn came reddening the sky, she could see a dark shadow approaching, and the shadow began to lighten and began to resolve itself into the shape of the beautiful purple bird, and in its beak was her red crayon. The bird perched itself on her shoulder, and she drew, and she drew, and she drew a magic flying red carpet. She sailed away from her cage, which remained suspended high in the clouds, and the bird this time was leading her, flying ahead and guiding her across this walled desert city with its spires, minarets, and palm trees. On and on, through the lightning skies they flew. The stars were infinite around her, like jewels in the velvet night. At last they left the city and flew down towards a single palm tree. Perhaps it was a date palm. Maybe I'd never seen so many. And illuminating its very base was a tiny door. The purple bird stood by the purple door, as if waiting for her. Layla had learned by now to be careful of doors, but she could not see that it could harm her any more than she had already been harmed. She looked to the bird as if to confirm, and it opened its wings in triumph and welcome. As she opened the door, the bird immediately flew straight through. Layla followed and found herself back in the grey city. The bird flew to the boy with the purple crayon. He helped her from her feet and told her that his name was James, that the bird was his, and she told him all about her adventures. "You have a crayon too," he said. "Perhaps we could—" "Way ahead of you," Layla laughed. She drew a circle, and so did he. And with the bird following them and Layla pointing the way to new adventure, they cycled through a city that was no longer quite so grey. Now, I make absolutely no claim for that to be anything other than a very partial reading, but I'd love to hear what you can do with it. Make it up as you go along, giving yourself time to think, pausing every few pages, writing it down, do whatever you wish with it. But it's a glorious book. There are others in the series. I think this is the first one, and I think there are two more. But very, very highly recommended. So, I hope that's given you some food for thought, and if nothing at all, you can just mute it and look at the beautiful illustrations. Anyway, all the very best, and speak again soon. Bye for now.